जी सर.
So once again, very good afternoon. Due to technical reason, we could not continue. So again, I am going to restart the anatomy of face. So the what part of face I have already explained to you. I'll go a bit fast for that. Okay, and later on, for the new part, I'll be a bit slow for that. So I told you the margins, border or limits of the face. From above you have hairline, below you have chin, on the side you have auricle. Then the skin, I told you, the skin of face has got peculiar feature. Those peculiar feature are rich vascularity. Okay, the very vascular face is there, and due to that blush and blanch is there. Wound of the face, they heal rapidly. The bleeding on the face is profuse. Okay, but still the plus point, healing is rapid. Then I told you the facial skin give insertion to the muscle of facial expression. Then the result of plastic surgery are better on the face. So these are certain very important feature of skin of the face. Then now next I told you about the facial muscles of facial expression. So I was explaining you these muscles are around the orifices. So first I told you about the eye, about the orbit. About the eye you have corrugator supercilii. Okay, corrugator supercilii. These are the muscle present over here. So these muscle takes origin from your hair on the medial side of this bone, and they are inserted into the skin. So origin and insertion I am not going to explain you in detail, because for examination point as well as clinical point these are not that important. So I'll tell you the common feature. Common feature, basically these muscles are dilator and this sphincter of the orifices or opening. So corrugator supercilii, orbicularis oculi and levator palpebrae superioris. In this only levator palpebrae superioris, that is the muscle of upper eyelid, that is supplied by the third cranial nerve. Third cranial nerve, oculomotor nerve. Okay, remaining now supply common. I'll tell you that also. Then around this mouth, around the mouth you have orbicularis oculi, this oris. This is the orbicularis, oris is there. Then you have buccinator is there. Then you have depressor labii, superioris, inferioris. So around the orifice you have these muscles. This is orbicularis oris. Okay. Then lateral to the nose. If you see, these four muscles are lateral to the nose. Lateral to the nose you have these muscles. Levator labii superioris alkanesi. The most medial muscle is levator, where you have the arrow. This arrow you can follow now. This is levator, this one. This is levator labii superioris alkanesi. Now lateral to that you have levator labii superioris. Lateral to that you have zygomaticus minor. Then more laterally you have zygomaticus major. So these are the muscle on the lateral side of the nose. Now around the nose, around the nostril, you have dilator nares, compressor nares and depressor septi. Dilator nares, compressor nares and depressor septi. In the midline you have procerus above the nose. This is the procerus. On the scalp you have frontalis and occipitalis. We have already studied in the scalp. Around the auricle you have auricularis anterior, posterior and superior. But these are basically vestigial muscle which are more developed in the animal, so that animal can move the ear. Human being, very rare person can move the ear. Normally person cannot move their ear. Then on the neck you have here platysma. This thin sheet of the muscle is platysma. Then here you have mentalis. You can make out, this is the mentalis. This is mentalis. Then you have depressor anguli oris. This is depressor anguli oris. Then here you have buccinator. So what you need to do, you need to remember this diagram. You have to remember this. See the next diagram. See the next diagram. Muscles are asked whether it is around the eye, it is around the mouth, or around the nose, or around the ear. Then I told you common insertion for all the muscles of facial expression. The common insertion is skin of the face. So this is common for all the muscle. So skin of the face is common for all the muscle. Then you have nerve supply. The nerve supply is also common. All the muscles of facial expression, they are supplied by the branches of facial nerve. That also I'll explain you in detail. Branches of facial nerve. Expression I'll show you with the diagram. So this is the diagram. Easy diagram which you can draw in exam if the question is there. See this one. This is. So muscles around the eye I told you. muscle around the mouth, muscle around the nose, then lateral to the nose, 4 muscle I told you. So this is about muscles of facial expression. Now we will see the arteries of the face, blood supply of face. In blood supply, first we are going to see the arteries. The arteries of the face are basically from common carotid artery branches, which are external carotid artery and internal carotid artery. The internal carotid artery is inside of the cranial cavity. That gives a branch ophthalmic artery. That ophthalmic artery comes out through the orbit and then supplies to the face structure and muscles of facial expression. The external carotid artery, 3 main branches are there, which first one is the facial artery, transverse facial artery and maxillary artery. Now among this, the facial artery is very important for examination point of view. So before you should know as an anatomy student, this is the arch of aorta, which is continuation of the ascending aorta. From arch of aorta, 3 branches. You have to remember in anatomy, from arch of aorta you have 3 branches, which are brachiocephalic trunk, then you have left common carotid and left subclavian. Then brachiocephalic is again divided into right common carotid and right subclavian. Okay, so common carotid has 2 branches, external and internal. Internal goes inside the skull and external supplies structure over here. So this is the common. Now facial artery. Facial artery is a branch of external carotid artery. The question can be describe the facial artery on the face. So facial artery enter on the face by winding around the lower border of mandible. Here you see, this is the facial artery. So this is the lower border of mandible, if you can make out the arrow. So it enter on the face by winding around the lower border of mandible, just in front of anterior-inferior angle of masseter. This is the masseter muscle. Here you can make out, this is the masseter. This is the anterior-inferior angle of masseter. That's very important to know. It is known as artery of anesthetist. Why do we call it artery of anesthetist? Because during surgery, when the patient is under the effect of anesthesia, the surgeon is doing surgery, that time anesthetist has to count the pulse. Sometime in the limbs you have drips and all. So here the facial artery can be palpable. Okay, you can palpate over here. So how to know where is the facial artery? So you know your 2 masseter are here. So if you tightly clench your teeth, okay, if you tightly close your mouth, clench your teeth, so there is contraction of the masseter. So masseter muscle just below here, anterior-inferior angle of masseter at the lower border of the mandible, here the facial artery enters. So you can see in the diagram, the facial artery enter on the face by winding around the lower border of mandible, just in front of anterior-inferior angle of masseter. And here the facial artery course is tortuous. Tortuous means zigzag. Why nature has given us the tortuous course? Because when you open the mouth, artery has to expand. So if it is not tortuous, the chances of rupture are there. If you see the back of this artery, you have facial vein, which is not that tortuous, okay, rather straighter. But the vein has more elastic fiber. So when you open the mouth, elasticity is there in the vein, so vein can expand. But artery has comparatively less elastic fiber, so nature has given the course of the artery is zigzag. Now after entering on the face, the facial artery runs lateral to the angle of mouth. This is the lateral to angle of the mouth. So it lies lateral to the angle of mouth, and here it gives 2 labial branches, superior labial branch and inferior labial branch. The superior labial for upper lip, the inferior labial for the lower lip, and both the sides, superior and inferior labial, they anastomose. They anastomose with each other. Then it runs lateral to the ala of the nose. If you see here, this runs lateral to the ala of the nose, and here it gives a branch, that is the alar branch, which supplies around the ala of the nose and this area. Then it runs upward. And finally at the medial angle of the eye, here you have medial angle of the eye, and here it anastomoses with the dorsal nasal branch of ophthalmic artery. So just now I told you the facial artery is a branch of external carotid artery. Now at the medial angle of the eye, it anastomoses with the branch of ophthalmic artery, which is in turn a branch of internal carotid artery. So this is the plus point for face. It is supplied by both the branches of external as well as internal carotid artery. So in case of any blockage to any branch of the artery, the other branch can compensate. The plus point of anastomosis, for example, if there is any blockage here, so after that, if there is no anastomosis, there won't be any blood supply. So these tissue will become dead. But nature has given anastomosis, the other artery which is coming and joining this branch, it can continue, it can compensate. So that is the plus point of anastomosis of this. So this is about the facial artery. So once again, facial artery is a branch of external carotid artery. It arises in the carotid triangle, then it runs upward, it winds around the lower border of the mandible in front of anterior-inferior angle of the masseter, then runs upward and medially at the lateral side of the nose, ala of the nose, then run upward at the medial angle of the eye. So its branches are, I told you, inferior labial artery, superior labial artery, the alar branches, then anastomosis with the dorsal nasal branch. So that is about the facial artery. Along with its course, it is accompanied by facial vein. You see, the facial vein lies above the facial artery. So artery is anterior and vein is posterior. In dissection you have to identify. So they look same. In dead body their color look almost same. So how to identify which is artery and which is vein? The artery is tortuous and vein is straighter. Okay. So artery is from A, artery is anterior and vein is posterior. That is the relation of artery and vein. And it lies between the superficial and deep layer of facial muscle. It lies between the superficial and deep layer of the facial muscle. So that is about the facial artery. Another artery I told you, the transverse facial artery. If you can make out this one, this is the transverse facial artery, this one. This is transverse facial artery. This is not important, but still the transverse facial artery, if you see here, this is the transverse facial artery. So transverse facial artery runs transversely over the face. It runs over the zygomatic arch. It is related with the parotid duct. Below this transverse facial artery there is parotid duct. Above the transverse facial artery you have transverse facial vein and it anastomosis with the other branches. That is the transverse facial artery. Then you have superficial temporal artery, which is a terminal branch of external carotid artery. It also supplies the upper part of the face. So that is about the arterial supply of the face. This is again the same diagram. Now dangerous area of the face. The dangerous area of the face, the area around the upper lip and the nose is known as dangerous area of the face. Why? Because this area has communication with the pterygoid plexus of the vein. That also I'll show you. And through that it has connection with the cavernous sinus within the cranial cavity. So if any infection is there in this region and that infection is not treated properly, infection may go from extracranial to the intracranial. And once it goes to the intracranial within the cavernous sinus, it can be fatal and it can produce lot of complication. That's why this dotted line, what you see in this dotted line, this area is dangerous area of the face. Now venous drainage of the face. In scalp I told you the venous drainage of scalp and venous drainage of the face is common. So when the question comes in scalp or the face venous drainage, both are the same. So to understand that you have to understand the diagram. So here you have supratrochlear vein and supraorbital vein. The supratrochlear vein and supraorbital vein, they meet at the medial canthus or medial angle of the eye to form angular vein. Now angular vein descends, it runs downward. Okay, this runs downward as the facial vein. The facial vein, here if you see in front of the ear, you have this one. Okay, this is superficial temporal vein, this is maxillary vein. The superficial temporal vein and maxillary vein, they unite to form retromandibular vein. Retromandibular vein. The retromandibular vein has anterior division and posterior division. The anterior division of retromandibular vein and the facial vein, they unite to form common facial vein. You can make out it here, common facial vein, which terminate into internal jugular vein. So once again, the diagram very easy you can draw. You have supratrochlear, supraorbital unite to form angular vein, which continue as the facial vein. The facial vein unite with the anterior division of retromandibular vein and form the common facial vein, which terminate into the internal jugular vein. Now what is the fate of posterior division of retromandibular vein? The posterior division of retromandibular vein unite with the posterior auricular vein. So here you have posterior division of retromandibular vein, here you have posterior auricular vein, both unite to form external jugular vein, which again terminate into your subclavian vein. So that is the venous drainage of face and skull. Just now I told you, here you have pterygoid plexus of the veins, this is. So these pterygoid plexus of the vein lies on pterygoid muscle, that is a muscle of mastication. And through this pterygoid venous plexus, there is communication with the cavernous sinus. So area around the upper lip and nose, this has connection of the veins, extracranial vein, with this intracranial vein, which are known as imagery vein. So I told you in the skull, imagery veins are those veins which connect the intracranial vein with the extracranial vein. So any infection outside of the cranial cavity, when it goes inside the cranial cavity, it can be dangerous. So this is about the venous drainage. So arterial supply and venous drainage. Now very important part comes nerve supply of face. For nerve supply of face, you have sensory and motor nerve. The motor nerve is very easy. All the muscle of facial expression, they are supplied by branches of facial nerve. To understand the branches of facial nerve, you have to expand your hand like this. So there are 5 branches: temporal, zygomatic, upper buccal, lower buccal and marginal mandibular. So on temporal region, you keep your thumb, temporal branch. Then you have zygomatic on the zygomatic region. Upper lip you have upper buccal, lower lip the lower buccal and margin of mandible, marginal mandibular. So these are the 5 branches of facial nerve which supplies to the muscle. The temporal branch supplies to the frontalis muscle and upper part of orbicularis oculi. Zygomatic supplies to this zygomaticus major, minor and lower part of orbicularis oculi muscle. Then upper buccal supplies to buccinator here. The lower buccal supplies the muscle around here. Marginal mandibular supplies to the platysma. So in this way, this is the motor nerve. Now sensory nerve on the face is by branches of trigeminal nerve. So tri means 3. You have 3 branches: ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. Ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. On the eye, ophthalmic, maxilla, maxillary and on the mandible, mandibular. So ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular, how do they supply? You can see here. If you draw a diagram, the first line from lateral side of the nose to the lateral side of the eye and at the middle of the skull. This first line, this is the one color. So this area skin of the face is supplied by ophthalmic branch of trigeminal nerve. Second line, blue color, you have to see from lateral side of angle of mouth to the middle of first line, blue color. So here this area is supplied by maxillary branch of facial nerve. Then lower down, third one is supplied by mandibular branch of facial nerve. See, this one is the mandibular branch of facial nerve. Then remaining this area, lowermost area around the neck, it is supplied by the cervical plexus, the branches of cervical plexus, C1, C2, C3 and C4. You see here, this is, so what are the branches of ophthalmic nerve which supplies to the face and skull? You have supratrochlear here in the midline, you can make out supratrochlear, supraorbital, palpebral branch of the lacrimal nerve, here infratrochlear and external nasal. So ophthalmic nerve has 5 branches for the skin of face, which are supratrochlear, supraorbital, palpebral branch, then you have infratrochlear and then you have external nasal outside of the nose skin. Then you have 3 branches from maxillary nerve. Here, this one is the infraorbital. Again, this one is the infraorbital, then zygomatico-temporal and zygomatico-facial, this one. Then from mandibular you have mental, buccal branch. See, so these are the branches, motor branches which supplies to the muscles, and these are the sensory branches which supply the skin of the face. So that's about the nerve supply of skull. Now what is the action of muscle? I told you, you need to remember insertion, nerve supply and action. Insertion, all the muscle of facial expression are inserted. Only one word you remember, skin, skin of face. Nerve supply, only one nerve, that is the facial nerve. Now action of the muscle. You see frontalis muscle, what does it do? Horizontal wrinkle on the forehead. When you are surprised, there are horizontal wrinkles on the forehead, that is done by frontalis. When you are not happy, okay, frowning, vertical wrinkles are there between your eyebrow, that is muscle is corrugator supercilii. Then zygomaticus major and minor. When you are happy, when you smile, when you laugh, your zygomaticus major and zygomaticus minor muscle work. When you are sad, not happy, your depressor anguli oris muscle work. So these are the various sections. When you are doing whistling, then buccinator muscle. For whistling, your muscle is buccinator muscle for the whistling. Then depressor anguli oris for your sadness. So these are the various expression of your muscles of. Then when you are too angry, then your muscles work dilator nares. And if you compare with the male and female, female dilator nares, they are more active. When they are angry, fighting, so there will be dilatation of dilator nares. So this is the dilator nares. So that is about origin, insertion, now supply and action of the muscle. Finally, we come to applied anatomy of face. In applied anatomy of the face, the most common important one is the Bell's palsy. The Bell's palsy or facial paralysis. What happens in Bell's palsy? Half of the face become paralyzed. Okay, this is the half of face become paralyzed because the facial nerve exits through stylomastoid foramen. So if there is any infection of the nerve, compression on the nerve, damage to the nerve, half of face become asymmetrical. So now how to examine whether patient is suffering with Bell's palsy? To examine this facial nerve, you have to ask the patient to puff out the air. Normally, when you puff out the air, there will be ballotment on both the sides, same. But in case of Bell's palsy, on that particular side, there won't be any ballotment. Second, you ask the person to show the teeth. You can make out in this diagram also in picture. So patient won't be able to show the teeth on that particular side. Then there won't be any lacrimation on this. Then you remember the anterior 2/3 of tongue, the taste sensation is carried by the branch of facial nerve. Okay, branch of chorda tympani, branch of facial nerve. So there won't be any taste sensation on anterior 2/3 of the tongue. So these are certain this diagnostic point to know that this see. Now in facial nerve there are two type of lesion, supranuclear and infranuclear. So to understand that you should know what is nuclei. Nuclei are aggregation of neuron cell body. So cell body of facial nerve lies in the brainstem. They lies in the pons. Okay, brainstem, that will study in neuroanatomy. Now supranuclear lesion occurs in the cerebrum, okay, in the brain, and infranuclear lesion below the brainstem. So what happen in supranuclear lesion? You see, this is supranuclear and infranuclear lesion. This is the supranuclear. Okay, the lesion is here in brain. Okay, infranuclear lesion is here when the facial nerve comes out through stylomastoid foramen. What happen in supranuclear lesion? The upper half of the face is escaped from paralysis. What is the reason why there is no paralysis? Because in above upper half of the face has bilateral representation in cerebral cortex. So this side of the muscle has connection with this side and same side. Ipsilateral, same side. Contralateral, opposite side. So if one side do not have their function, the other side is communicating and they are supplying. So supranuclear lesion, especially it occur in paralysis. The patient who comes with the paralysis or hemiplegia, and if there is damage to the here cerebral cortex, so that type patient won't have paralysis on this upper half of the face. But in lower half of the face, the paralysis is symmetrical. Whole of the half of face become paralyzed. The reason being all the branches of facial nerve are damaged. So this is the difference between supranuclear and infranuclear lesion. So supranuclear lesion, once again, upper half of the face is escaped from paralysis. What paralysis meaning you have to understand? Loss of function of the muscle is paralysis. When the muscle function is contraction. When the contraction is not there, that is paralysis. So here bilateral representation. There is ipsilateral, contralateral. Same side now supply is there, and from opposite side now supply is there. So this is the supranuclear and infranuclear lesion. Other than that, see, I told you this area is dangerous area of the face. So any infection goes to inside the cranial cavity and it goes to the cavernous sinus. It can cause cavernous sinus thrombosis. Okay, intravascular clotting is thrombosis. In that case, there can be periorbital edema. around the orbit edema, swelling will be there, redness will be there. And if there is any infection in that region, there will be headache also, headache would be there. Then if third cranial nerve get damaged, third cranial nerve passes through cavernous sinus, and cavernous sinus thrombosis due to infection from this region can damage the third nerve also, and in that case there will be ptosis. You can make out involuntary drooping of eyelid, upper eyelid, okay, involuntary drooping of upper eyelid is known as ptosis. Then edema of the mucous membrane of eyeball will be there, chemosis will be there. Then you can make out photophobia, there will be aversion to the light. Then there can be bulging of the eye, proptosis. So that is the applied anatomy of face. So this is the detail of the face. Next you get ready, we will do your next topic, that will be the lacrimal apparatus and posterior triangle. So next time we will do lacrimal apparatus and posterior triangle. So you keep in touch with the ma'am through your chat box, and you can write down your queries. So if I'll get any question from you, I'll reply on the next lecture.